Welcome to another live stream, guys. Just a quick little market update before heading into the holidays here. Will the Moon Boys get their Christmas wish with the Santa rally, or is the market ready to punish all with lower prices to come? Honestly, there's some reasons for both scenarios. You guys know my stance, basically bearish until proven otherwise, but I'm not completely closed off to the idea of some sort of rally either. However, I still want to show respect to resistance levels at this point as they get tested rather than FOMOing long into sell levels. So unfortunately for the bulls, they still have some work to do. But again, not all hope is lost yet. The market loves talking about the Christmas rally, typically starting December 24th. So that would be tomorrow. But will this cycle give us our wish? Time will decide. I just want to point out a few levels on my radar before taking a break for the next few days to spend time with friends and family. So with that, let's start off on this 4-hour chart that I was showing in yesterday's live stream. Still basically hanging on to about half of my short position from up here. And basically just taken from that 4-hour resistance, right? I had mapped out the fact that we had this low and this lower low, confirming this as our not that level, this level, basically the same, but very slightly higher. But basically we came up, retested that level, got a bit of a swing fail and seen a bit of a rejection from here. Now, guys, we have only hit my first target yet. And as I mentioned, I only have half of this position still running. When we zoom into the 5-minute chart here, here you can see so clearly how we got this swing fail, right? From our pivot there, that's that 4-hour level I was talking about. You can see that we basically just got a wick up in there, closing candles red, even getting a bit of a retest here, absolutely pinpoint accurate there. So basically, as mentioned, we ended up testing my resistance. We've hit my 0.5 fib. I did end up closing an additional quarter of my position just for the fact on the 5-minute we had this low, this lower low, and that would be our confirmed lower high on the trend. So the fact that we ended up breaking that 5-minute micro trend, I just wanted to downsize my risk a little bit, just pay myself a little bit more. And that is something that I had mentioned to VIPs. But just this setup in general, I was warning yesterday about this resistance level, basically just stating that we had immediate resistance here up to about 91.4K, and we actually have more resistance if we went a little bit higher. And guys, for those of you interested in seeing way more examples of how I'm looking at market structure, some of my trade setups ideas, some of my strategies, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code on the screen and sign up under me for BloFin to gain access to current. This is actually a new promo. This doesn't actually start until 10 a.m. UTC tomorrow. So just watch for that. But this will be the promo running starting tomorrow. So if you want access to the current promo as well as future promos through the no KYC exchange known as BloFin that I've personally been trading on for well over a year now, which will also gain you access into my free Telegram channel by scanning the QR code there. Or like I said, I can bring this one up on the screen as well, my friends. That being said, as I said, guys, not all hope is lost yet. As I mentioned, the fact that we broke this 5-minute structure here, still have a little bit of concern here. If we really want to look at the microstructure here, actually, let's just look at this. And again, this is microstructure, but this would have been our previous high followed by higher high. That means this would be our confirmed lower or higher low on the trend, just the micro trend, obviously. But you can see that so far we have tested the 786 absolutely perfectly. I'm actually going to remove the previous fib there, but you can see just that we're testing the 786 so far. I myself am not bullish, so I'm not as interested in looking for those scalps to the upside. But as I mentioned, I did at least take some risk off the table and paid myself a little more when we did get this little bit of a structure break here. So open to either scenario at this point. I would still honestly feel much more bullish if Bitcoin could drop down a little bit further. I know I mentioned this on my stream yesterday that I would actually like Bitcoin to drop to my purple or green boxes here. because that would be a proper retest of the whole range, right? If I pull a bullish fib from our local lows of this range up to where we have topped out so far, that gives us my STUBER fib pocket in purple and my swing fail pocket in green there. I would be much more bullish if we end up testing our actual strong support level. I know a lot of people would flip bearish if that happens, but those are my buy levels and they have been for quite some time. It's possible that we just front ran it a little bit, or it's possible that the move hasn't finished playing out yet and we're still going to get that move. So I would personally rather get my entries a little bit lower. And that's from a bullish perspective more than anything. That's looking for targets. I still would look, even as bearish as I am, I would be looking at these as buy levels, basically. So whether that means I'm going to take a hedge long at those levels or just take longs in general, or just taking profits off my short positions at that time. It is what it is. Those would be my possible support levels at this time, basically. If we want to look for resistance, I have changed this in yesterday's stream. I talked about this, that I did change my resistance, brought it up about $1,000 because previously we were pulling a fib from our lower high on the trend, something like that. Although we never ended up breaking the 115, we did technically break this 93.1, 93.2K, depending where you want to look at it from there. But basically, since we did set some new highs there, I just want to pull a fib from the very top of this range at this point, and then to where we have bottomed since. So I would be looking at something like this. So if Bitcoin does get some sort of a rally, just understand that resistance, or well, possible resistance, would start again at about 92.3K and actually run up to about 96.2K. So obviously that's a fairly big range, but it is a big range that we are currently trading in. So that fake out room, that resistance zone, zones in general are quite large. So it's more so, it's not so much that I think we have to go up to these levels, also not saying that we can't break through them. But as I mentioned earlier, I just want to give respect to resistance levels if we end up testing them. I'm not saying to YOLO short right now, as the obvious move from resistance already played out and we have started hitting some of my targets. So as bearish as I am, it doesn't mean necessarily short right now. It just means that, hey, when we start getting up towards resistance levels, if we get it, it's time to be a little bit cautious, because I would always rather be a seller at sell levels at resistance. And just like the opposite side, whether that means taking profits off longs, hedging short, entering shorts, whatever, I would just always rather be a seller at resistance and a buyer at support. So if we end up taking that nice little Santa rally up towards 92K, at that point, I would just start to be a little bit cautious. And guys, for those of you who do appreciate how, just trying to be the voice of reason in this chaotic market and trying to make sense of it all and just trading the charts for what they are, as traders, it's important to be able to read charts and very basic market structure over trying to analyze everything else in the market. So if you do appreciate just looking at these charts for what they are from a trader's perspective, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as I mentioned, just trading the charts for what they are, analyzing the charts for what they are. Guys, we see so many things that everybody is willing to analyze these days. We see, what do we all see here? We basically have people saying that the 4-year cycle is going to break. We have Santa rally this, Santa rally that. We have this month is typically green. We have everything's at all-time highs except crypto, so crypto is going to follow. We have quantitative easing starting. We have the M2 money supply divergence, all these things. Guys, Bitcoin traders will literally analyze anything other than simply a Bitcoin chart. That's what I see when I see all these hopium posts, all these just grasping at things to push that bullish narrative and to just hold on to that hopium. I mean, you can just tell that so many people will literally analyze freaking anything other than the chart that they're actually trading. So I think that's very important, because yeah, those things do matter and those things can push the market. But understand, until Bitcoin actually breaks some of that bearish structure and we start forming an actual uptrend, Until that happens, those things literally don't mean anything to me. Looking at the weekly chart, still nothing has really changed here since last time I looked at it. Basically, this market cycle still just looking identical to the previous market cycle, just kind of hit our 886 and chopping around sideways. So if we get anything like last cycle, I mean, we could just chop around sideways for another month or two in this bigger range before continuing to the downtrend. Or maybe we are actually forming a bottom, much like what we did here, and end up pumping to new highs. You know, anything is possible. That's the thing. I'm just looking at this as a weekly to make sense of things, to zoom out and really get an overall view of, does it make sense that we could go lower? Yes. You know, it makes sense. Do we have to? Absolutely not. But is it a possibility? Absolutely. So that's why I really like to zoom out and look at the weekly from time to time. But yeah, so far, like I said, the Bulls do have a lot of work they got to do yet to prove to me that they mean business, and that we have not only talking about, I mean, so many people saying that we're about to go to all-time highs, we're about to go to 200K, we're about to do this and that. Even just to get back up towards 100K, the Bulls have a lot of work to do to prove that to me. Basically, the first nice step would be smashing through this 96K resistance, this red box that I have outlined. If we can actually smash through an important resistance level on the 4 hour, then I will be open to the idea of testing significantly higher levels. But the fact that we haven't, and we haven't formed any bullish structure, all of this is just noise, you guys. This is just us trading in a bigger range. Most people have a hard time zooming out and making sense of things. But looking at the actual market structure for what it is, I mean, we just really haven't done much as far as trying to form an uptrend. If anything, I would say the fact that, hey, you know, this was basically our best shot at things. The fact that we ended up breaking this lower high, like I was saying, about 93.1, 93.2K there. The fact that we ended up breaking that, we set this as a high. Even if we wanted to consider this a higher high, which since it never broke my original 115 fib, I still don't really want to treat it as a higher high. But even if we did that, this would be our confirmed higher low, and we lost that. So even if we did start an uptrend, we already lost that. So at this point, I just want to remain level-headed at this point. You know, so many people saying that the 4-year cycle is going to break and all that sort of thing. It's possible. The thing is, I would rather trade charts that we have in front of us at the time rather than trading charts that are in my head that I hope show up in a month or two from now. I would just rather always trade the chart that we have, because that's where my back testing comes in. That's where I have my strategies, my systematic trade setups that I repeat time and time again. You know, that's where all that comes in. At this point, I don't really care. Yeah, I have spot holdings, and if we end up nuking to the downside, I'm gonna be just like the Moon Boys, and I will be taking an ass kicking on my investment funds. However, as a trader, my actual trading account, that's where I literally don't care which direction we're going. All I care about for my trading account is that the market is volatile, and it has been very volatile, and it has been a lot of fun to trade. People saying it's untradeable and that sort of nonsense. You know, this is the kind of volatility that as a trader, I just drool for this kind of price action. And those of you guys in my Telegram have absolutely seen why, as we've just been crushing this downtrend for the last 8-9 weeks, basically since the October 10th crash. Actually, even before that, guys. Let's just go back to even back here. Notice that this was actually a couple of days before that October 10th sell-off that we had. And I kept you guys up to date. I mean, I shared this in my Telegram channel, and I also mentioned on live stream why I was shorting up at those highs. But even before that, guys, notice that when I took that short, that was more of a hedge. And I already had a beautiful long position. So, I mean, for the last several months, we have just been all over this market. Just looking at market structure for what it is, basically. And again, for those of you guys who do appreciate that, whether it's just being part of these live streams or being in my Telegram, and whether I'm helping you survive or even thriving, obviously that's the goal. Surviving is one thing, but for those of you actually thriving here, I mean, that is just fantastic to see so many testimonies of people who are just crushing these markets based on, the odd thing that I say or whatever, people liking my trade strategies, whatever. And those of you guys who do appreciate it, once again, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Looking at the long short ratio, I haven't reloaded this chart today. Let's hop over to the daily. As I was mentioning yesterday, basically we can see retail longs stepping into the market again. And as soon as retail traders start building those long positions by FOMOing into resistance, that's where we get that liquidity for a downside push. So unfortunately, until retail traders are done getting wrecked and going to finally give up and quit longing the dips, that is basically what we need for the market to recover. We need retail traders to start FOMOing short. I know everyone's saying that, hey, everybody's bearish, therefore we're bullish. I see so many people saying that. And therefore, if everybody thinks that we're so bearish we have to be bullish, that means all those people are actually bullish, which means we should actually be bearish. A lot to wrap your head around there, but basically I see so many people saying how bearish we are and how everybody is bearish in the market. Well, if that's the case, then why is retail 69% long right now? You cannot read that number and tell me with a straight face that the market is fucking bearish right now. I'm sorry. Retail traders are still very willing to buy the dip, catch the knife, get wrecked, however you want to talk about it. Unfortunately, this is a visualization that no, the market is not excessively bearish. The market has a lot of FOMO no matter what they're saying. Whether people are bearish or not, they're trading against their own bias in that case. So, where are we here? Let me just map out this little bit of a resistance fib once again, just so I can keep tabs. I do have another quarter of my short position that will be closed, another quarter locking in profits if we get to, what is it set at? I think my order is set at 85,888. So basically just front running the 214 fib target by a little bit. But yeah, other than that, I would end up leaving the final quarter of that position running. And also I still have 20% of my position running from 92,462 US dollars. So still got a couple short positions open, but it's all risk-free at this point. There's profits locked in on both. So I'm not opposed to the idea of going higher. I would love to see it. It's just that I would really like to see us hit my buy levels of the bigger range before going higher. Obviously, the market doesn't care about my opinions or my emotions, so we're just going to have to see what happens. But that's kind of what I would like to see right now. Either we end up coming down to either it's the STUBER fib or the swing fail. Either way, I would just be basically laddering in orders on both of these buy levels. But something like that, I would love to take a stab long at. Or the other thing would be if we actually smash through some of this resistance and then either get a retest of support from there, or we break through and we just start staircasing higher, in which case, as long as we're setting higher highs, I would be taking stabs at longing higher lows, basically STUBER fibs, something like that, right? If we end up setting another higher high, then I would have another fib chasing the price, something like that. So if we get that kind of price action where we start staircasing higher after smashing through the actual resistance, I would be willing to long some dips at that point. Or, like I said, we'd come down and test support of the bigger range. Other than that, I just have to hold on to my bearish bias a little bit longer because at this point, it just nothing's been invalidated yet on those theories. So anyways, my friends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. One last time, if you appreciate these live streams, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And just a reminder for those of you who are interested in learning more of my strategies, how I use Fibonacci's, how I view market structure, just give more of my thoughts on the market in general, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen. to get into the Telegram, as I mentioned. And as I also mentioned, this promo does start for my followers from BloFin tomorrow. So that's something else that you can take advantage of for a couple of weeks ending January 7th. So other than that, my friends, I will likely not be streaming the next few days. Going to spend some time with friends and family for the holidays. I hope that you guys all have a fantastic holiday season, and I will see you as soon as I can whenever we get back to the live streams, maybe on the 26th, maybe even tomorrow. Obviously, it depends what the market's doing and what everyone's up to, but it's possible that I'll stream tomorrow or the 26th, but just don't rely on that. Those of you in the Telegram, obviously, I will be keeping you guys up to date with some of my posts as things catch my eyes. But other than that, thank you so much for being here with me once again, my friends. Enjoy your holiday season. Stay safe out there, my friends. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends.